Hi, I'm with Felipe. One of the things that is very important about the movement lesson touch and should be practiced by all therapists, modalities, doctors around the world. It's really simple. And you can try this at home, get a spouse, get a partner. I would try it first on someone who's going to give you feedback versus, your child, especially if they're nonverbal. But one of the comments is going to be towards a mother is saying, when I do this with my child, they back arch. The physics of the human body. Now, I did this back in really with Felipe's snake and Claire. Years back. That's on YouTube. But when you have a snake, but anyone with a human with biological responses, right? If you go hand over hand and you go to take them, they will repel you. When I'm touching like this is Newton's law. For every action, there's an equal opposite reaction. So I don't have to touch him hard. I'm not hurting him. I'm not making him lose his balance. But really, the harder I go to pull, he's going to resist me, okay? When you come under and use rotation, he's mine. I can do whatever I want with him, and with a lot more force. But he just knows I'm a part of his system. He's not acting. The second I do this, he'll stop. The second I do this, he comes with me, right? Now with this, I can get him to stand up if I wanted to, but anyone who's doing hand over hand. So when a therapist comes and literally goes like this to a child, right? And they don't mean to. I'm not saying, no one's getting hurt here, folks. I mean, I'm doing this. I can do this with his ring finger or pointer finger. He's not gonna, I'm gonna get the same physical response from his body. I never teach whatsoever hand over hand. Now, if you see me go over someone's system, body with my hand, I've got the other hand going. I might do something like this to guide it, to work on those rotations, especially within maybe the bicep, tricep area, pecs, whatever, or going into that. I might be working on weight transfer through the wrist. The action that I'm getting for the movement is coming from underneath. So same with the snake, if you go underneath, you can pick the snake up, right? But if you go like this, you can't pick up a snake. It just won't work. And so, and a lot of modalities, again, they're looking at trigger points, they're looking at applied force, they're looking at many different things. Light touch, like even when you're doing cranial, like when I'm doing head work, I teach you guys thumbs off, because again, you're going to get that hand over hand even through the central nervous system with cranial movements. And that's some of the stuff I'll be teaching when I go live with the cranials in June. But you just want to go here. So this is why I hate head lag, right? So if I go like this, right? Sorry guys, when I get excited, I move around. So if I go like this, even with Felipe, and I'm doing this, he's not giving me anything. I can go full on with my weight, and he's gonna just give me his weight back. He's not leaning back to counter me, but this is where too, if your child's tantruming, and I'm telling you right now, this is your secret sauce, because they're just going to whip out and go, I don't want to go. And you're pulling and they're pulling, and it's just not pretty. And you look like a parent of the year. But if I go like something like this, and I want him to do something like this, at some point he's going to have to leave the table. I'm not pulling him. I'm not doing anything like this. He's like putty in my hands. Because with the rotation, he can't fight me, but also with the rotation, I bind to his system. So when I'm doing, and this is where they use it in karate, I'm not going to do anything. He hates when I say karate because he knows I'm going to go and try and hit him. But even when someone's doing like this is how we get the counterbalance. It really doesn't take a lot of force to flip someone over on their feet with martial arts, let's say, or if I'm striking, right? But if I do like this, there's nothing. Like I said, so you don't pick up a senior out of a bed like this. You just don't do it. But when a therapist, especially with a child, let's say with CP, goes like something like this, or goes like something like this, first of all, they're putting the system into failure. Second of all, they're making you work way too hard. But it could take me literally sometimes an hour and a half to get the CP out of their system that they've experienced from a bad touch. So when I say too with doctors, and I mean this sincerely, if you're just an anesthesiologist, right? And if you come like this, a nurse, and you're like, I'm just checking your vitals, I'm telling you, you're going to get elevated blood pressure, and the person's just not going to want to give you the goods. They're not going to want to talk to you in a way that's just, hey, how you doing? But if you come underneath like this and do the same thing, so I see that you're in for, and do all this, they're going to come to you, they're going to recommend you, they won't even know why. Not that you heard them per se, right? But you touched them in a way that they were heard, right? And this is what we're doing with our kiddos. I know our kiddos sometimes are just globally delayed. I'm telling you, when Graham had a temper tantrum, and especially being hypotonic, I swear to God, and I can say this because I'm his mother, it was like picking up a wet bag of dog food. You know what I mean? Like you just were grabbing at each corners and you just couldn't get them up, right? And so, you know, that's just the way it was. I'm telling you, I wish I knew so many of these little secrets that are going on, but if I go like this, there will be a counter response. And usually, again, with a child with, especially with CP, and it doesn't have the ability to go between active and passive muscles, they're going to respond with the same amount of force, but go into more dystonic features. And that's not what we want when they're high tone. And for a low tone child, this is where you're going to get the head lag and so forth. They didn't do it yesterday, they're not going to do it tomorrow. That's not the way you get strength in the neck. Because if it's the wrong touch and you're picking them up wrong, they're going to give you the wrong movement back. It's just apples and apples. It's just the way it works. So that hand over hand, and when you're doing something like this, you know, first of all, if you're seeing that head bob, you're doing it wrong. And I don't care if you're doing movement lesson or another modality. If you're seeing this head bob, or you have to have stability, or they don't have stability, your touch is wrong, right? But if I'm doing this, I can see his head's nice and stable. I can go a lot faster if I want to, and his head's nice and stable. But if I go like this, right, it looks like, wake up, you know, I'm trying to get him to do something like that. It's just not the way, it's just physics. It's just pure physics. And so when you're wanting to work on someone, again, no matter the modality, if all you learned here is a touch, guys, it'll change your whole life. But you can't touch an impaired nervous system in a way that they're going to repel you. And again, that's Newton's law. You want to touch a nervous system that they learn from you. You want to touch a nervous system that again, I have a very superior movement vocabulary. So no matter who I'm touching and doing whatever, I'm touching them in the way. Now, even though I've never played professional baseball, you know, Felipe can tell you, I can work on him as if he can just go out in the mound in 3 seconds, right? So I have that kind of vocabulary. Mound's rounded. I want him to be able to step off the rubbers, step down. And I know how to touch him in a way to facilitate, let's say, a throw or a fastball or a changeup, you know, and we talk through it. But at the same time, too, when you're just working on just breathing and tummy time, it's the same thing. You know, just think of yourself like right now, breathing through your back. Okay, what would need to come in? Like, how do I need to touch someone? But you're going to get it. But if you're going like this and you're expecting a breath, or especially transition, weight transfer, and rotational responses, it just can't happen. It's just pure physics. And again, if you don't believe me, just go like, I just learned this today. Is it true? And go like this and go, okay, I can't do anything. And go like this and like, I'm not even looking at while I'm seeing him on my phone. But, you know what I mean? What the heck? I didn't hurt him. I'm not trying to pull him over, right? But his nervous system is going on to, what are you doing to me? I don't know if I like it or not. And it protects itself. And two, you know, I'm telling you, you can go to again, a lot of different modalities, and I'm not trying to pick on them, and they're going to do stuff like this just to up their sensory integration disorder or their reflex integration issues, to prove their points. And then they touch them a different way and go, oh, look, they're so much calmer. Look at what I've done. So you really got to work with that. But learning to touch will change the way not only that you work with my videos, but with anybody's work that they're offering you, right? And that's what was always apparent to me when I had the touch, didn't know it. You know, it was organic to me, or what people say intuitive. I always touched with rotation. It just was. And I always, you might be telling me something and I might be hearing you. My hands, these five fingers, 10 total, whatever you want to look at, even the palms of my hand are way more intelligent than my brain will ever be. So you might be telling me something, I still will listen to my hands way more first. And I'll go, what's up with this movement? Now, I have enough experience that I can tell if you're taking medication, I can tell if you have an infection, I can tell if you have a cancer, and that just comes with experience. That's not a brag, it's just what I do. But I pay attention beyond what you think I need to know and what you're telling me. And I'll say, did the child, let's say, have a PICC line? You know, they're like, yeah, how'd you know? Because again, me just trying to cross, like, say, elbow and midline, and trying to get a midline here, good luck, especially when they had to hold through, bend this shoulder back to put in the PICC line. My sons had 2 PICC lines. Again, my touch paid attention way more than these did. And that's what I did. But please, when you're working with your child, simple things to remember. You never touch hand over hand. You're never going to get results. And again, that's in any modality. You cannot position someone or limit the range of movement to get more movements. It's just mathematically impossible. The second thing is, I'm sitting up, right? I don't work on the floor. I don't teach to work on the floor. I've done enough trainings where I had to get on the floor. You're not going to get the best work out of you because the movement has no place to go. If I was squatted down here, like, and he's a big boy, where is it going to go? I need to be in a position where if he does want to suddenly do a movement, it's going to be there. And look for his response. Again, if I'm getting, a counter difference. Now, when I see this, I think of, when you're pulling a trailer on a truck and stuff, so if it's not weighted properly, so if you put your RV close to the top part of the trailer, and there's enough videos out there and you can see it, and the trailer's all over the place, right? But if you load it back and you put your RV or whatever, your four-wheeler in the back of the trailer, right? You can bounce that car as much as you want and it just stabilizes immediately. It just goes into stabilization. The same thing with your touch. I haven't stopped touching him even though I'm doing a live. Whenever I can't take a picture with someone without working on them. When I touch into somebody, I get into their nervous system and I want to help them. It's just my general bit. I just want to do good for somebody. And I'm like, wow, the wrist just isn't turning over. And he might say, hey, I came to you from a bad knee. But if I touch you here and I notice, let's say your wrist is jacked up, which is not his case, but I do notice with a lot of men because they hold the steering wheel like that. I was actually in South Africa in Durban, and I told this woman, I said, you got to change the way you drive. And she's like, ooh. And I'm like, I said, road rage is, because she still had this, it's like she ripped off the steering wheel. And another guy with what, he actually get in trouble at work because he takes the steering wheel off in chunks. You know what I mean? Like, people really have some very unusual habitual contractions. But I might notice that when I'm working with them, and that could be why it's causing their back pain. It's an extreme example, but it exists. You always have to be open to. So even if your child does have CP, if your child does have whatever, and like Amy's watching, you know what I mean? Like, it could be more than one thing sometimes, and that's okay. But you have to be open to that so you can pick up on it. Like, again, your child might have autism. Chances are they're going to have an ear infection. That ear infection is going to throw them sometimes more than the autism does, right? Those are things that your hands have to be open to. Slow down, come underneath the system, get that stabilization. The center balance is not here on a person. Like, he's sitting down now, I could just shift him like this. I've just extremely changed his center balance, and that's okay, right? And he's also a professional player, so I can do stuff to him I couldn't do to most people because of that. Why? He has exceptional vision. And because of that, I can do way more movements in his body. And that's another thing I would say. You change the vision, you change every movement in the body. So I hope those little tips just help. But I know you're working with a child with extreme seizures, and you want those abilities, but you can't add to the contractions just because you're touching. You don't know better. That's why I'm here teaching you. If you want to learn, we're going to teach you, right? But that has to be there. But please, there's a way of working with your child that will lessen the severity if they have a diagnosis.